Hey, welcome everyone to this PvP guide. So I've done PvZ and PvT, so it's time for the mirror matchup. So this guide is going to be useful for everyone up until I think GM. Kind of works in GM too as well, but if you're diamond or below, it's going to be amazing for you to improve. So this is going to be a glaive and immortal strategy build you can do against pretty much everything except Stargate. So if you play against one gate expand, against anything at this level, you're going to be just fine. So pylon 14 as you do, obviously, you can use your time to middle trick your probes your way, put the 2 probes on the closer mineral patches. As your pylon finishes, make sure you chrono boost your nexus, and then you make your gateway at 16, of course. Then you rally your probe out to make a gas, 17 obviously. And just scout after the gateway. So, second gas at 18. This is the most standard PvP build. You should be doing this pretty much every game. This is the most normal and optimized opener. Just make sure the moment you have 50 energy, just chrono boost again, and you rally point your probe out to make the second gate. Now here's the twist. You have 16 probes in the minerals. The moment the second gas finishes, you put 2 more probes in the gas. So you have 14 on the gas, 14 on the minerals, and 2 on each geyser. Then you get your core at 21. And then the probe that made the core goes to another geyser, and the next probe is rallied to the next geyser. So you have 3 and 3. I hope this is clear. Worst case scenario, you can just go back in the replay and watch again. The idea is to have as much gas as possible early enough, because we're going to be making quite a bit of sentries. So if you stop mining gas or you forget, your whole build is going to be messed up. So make sure you really have the probe count in the gases properly. So, you can just, I'm just pretending this replay because I'm playing against the AI, so it doesn't really matter what I scout here. But you go Sentry, Stalker, as I'm showing here, and Warp Gate. You should be able to start all 3 of that as the core finishes. You rally your probe down to get your pylon here. This pylon in natural will enable you to make a battery in your middle line or batteries at the front if you need to. So it's really important to make it here. Then we're going to be queuing 2 more sentries, so sentry number 2, and the next sentry you should have enough money. So sentry and then nexus. See, I'm just trying to spam E to get the sentry, and then finally nexus. So when the nexus has been started successfully, now you get a probe and a battery. So probe and then battery. Never got probes. Like the moment your nexus has been started, you need to make probes non-stop. See, I'm not queuing probes. You can leave a probe in the little gap next to your gateways just in case there's a depth. You want to be able to make a battery to block. Then, whenever you can afford it, you get your robo. Really important to not delay it. We're going to be making immortals and attack rapidly, so you really don't want to delay your robo. Non-stop probes, and this next probe will be rallied at the very right of my main. I'm taking a probe. Actually, I should have rallied, but no big deal. And you get a pylon at the very edge of your main. This pylon plates here will give you room to make gates and gives you vision. You have more time to react if something comes your way, an oracle, a warp prism, whatever it is. So it's really important to make a pylon like this at the very edge of your base. Note that I've only made 3 sentries and a stalker, nothing else. We don't want to waste money, especially gas, into units we don't need. You only make extra units, especially stalkers, if you scout a Stargate. If you play against Stargate, I'm gonna just pause to explain. If you play against Stargate, you need a battery in your main mirror line at 3:30 latest. And you can make 2 more stalkers in your main to help deal with the Oracle. But usually if you play against Oracle, I recommend you do not do this strategy because it kind of sucks. I mean, you have Adepts and Immortal, so nothing shoots up, I should say. So I guess it goes without saying. So whenever you can afford it, you make your Immortal and then Twilight Council. Use your sentries to spam hallucinations to see what's up. If you play against Twilight, if you play against Robo, just follow the build thoroughly, no big deal. If you play against Target, once again, do not do it. Whenever your Immortal is finished, you queue another one. You should be spending 3 chrono boosts in total on your Robo. 1 for the Immortal, another one for the Immortal number 2, and then for the Warp Prism. Then you start making your gateways and start glaives, resonating glaives. So I made 2 gates already. I will go all the way to 7. If you struggle spending your money and macroing is not easy for you, you can make 1 more, or maybe not 2 more, maybe it's a bit too much, but you can go to 8 instead of 7 if you struggle. Note, I stopped at 16 probes in both bases. Do not make 17 or 18. 16, not a single more. Then you go warp prism, and then you warp in 2 adepts. And then finally you make the pylon. You do not need the pylons before, because your gates are not done yet, so you can delay them. So you get your warp prism before, you get 2 adepts before, and then finally you can just spam the pylons. You can make 3, 4 at once, so you don't forget and yes, you don't get supply block. Accidentally queuing 10 observers. And then the moment your warp prism is done, just cross the map and spend the leftover energy on your next eye on your glaive so it finishes quicker. Be careful to not be supply blocked. And whenever gateways are available, just spend the warp in cycles. And you can see as I'm crossing the map, Mars me is becoming bigger, obviously. So whenever you warp in something, make sure you get the equivalent amount of pylons. So if I make, let's say 4 adepts, you can warp in 1 pylon. If you warp in 7, then you make double pylon. And you just go for it. You can use Guardian Shield or not, depending on what you see. And then just use force fields like this. I mean, I'm just pretending it's AI, obviously, but you can also shade in the main like this and spread shades like this. For example, you can cancel the shades in one location and let 2 shades finish in the probes. You can ravage the probes and just make sure you remake more adepts whenever you can warp in. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in actual game. This was just the build order. I'm going to show you what it looks like against an actual GM player. Alright, now we're going to be showing you an actual replay in GM. So yeah, so pretty much the same. Pylon at 14 over here. Always wall in such a way, you know, I mean, you cannot see the contours, but basically you know how to make a pylon. I don't even know why I explained this. So I'm gonna speed up a little bit. So once again, the moment your Nexus finishes, you chrono boost it and you get your gateway. You scout after that. You don't need to scout this early, especially if you're in the higher leagues, you know, in Masters and so on. But if you struggle with cannon rushes, cheeses, and things of that sort, I think it's a good idea to scout a little bit earlier so you feel more confident and you can see what's going on. So Assimilator 17, 18, second gate. Chrono boost the moment you have 50 energy, as I said in the first part of the video. The moment your gas finishes, put 2 inside it, and then this probe makes the core, goes to the gas to make it 3. The next probe is right to the other geyser to also make it 3. And you end up at 14 on the minerals, 2 gas, I mean 3 on the gas and 3 on the other gas. So let's pretend our opponent is playing normal, which he is in this case. Keep an eye on whether or not your opponent has a second pylon in their base. If they do, there is most likely going to be a normal play. If the second pylon is hidden or not in their base, it could be a proxy robo here, proxy target there, proxy gate, who knows. So keep an eye on it, but this strategy is actually pretty safe. You have sentries to scout with, so you should be just fine. So once again, sentry, stalker, warp gate, you should be able to afford all of that, and then you get your pylon over there. You know what I do to make it at the right spot? I just grab, you know, I look at the mineral patch and just make it 1 up, basically 1 square up. It will never ever block your Nexus if you put it like this, and it gives you access to batteries in your middle line and batteries at the front. Then you go second sentry, and then you will be making the last entry. And then Nexus. There you go. Then you go probe, and then battery. You really want to resume the probe production the moment your Nexus goes down. You know, because if you make the battery and then the robo, then you potentially delay 2 probes, which delay your economy, and obviously the strategy is going to be delayed as a whole. The moment you can afford it, you get a robo, keep making probes, and the moment you have enough energy, send 1 of these to see what's going on. Once again, if you're facing a Stargate, you want to make a battery in your mirror line over here at 3:30 latest. So I'm just going to be scouting. And I can see a robo, right? If I put it in my own view, I'm gonna see a robo here. Just, he's making a battery, he's making sentries. I know I'm perfectly safe against this, right? I mean, he's just playing defensive. Sentry is a defensive unit, so is a battery, so is a robo. Nothing to worry about. I don't need to make extra useless batteries or anything like this. I do not need to warp in anything else. The more units you warp in, the more you delay your strategy. So if you can skip units altogether, you do it. You only warp in units if you get attacked and you really need to, or if there's an oracle and then you need to warp in stalkers for anti-air. That's about it. You make your Twilight Council the moment you can afford it. It's a I can afford it, therefore I make it kind of build, basically. It's just the order. So Immortal, right? You chrono boosted the first one, now I'm chrono boosting the second one. The moment your Twilight Council finishes, use the Glaive upgrade research. Keep in mind there's the production tab in the top left, so if you struggle to follow, you can keep an eye on here. Now I should be stopping probes very soon. Yeah, this is, I have 15, so it's gonna be the very last probe. You know, you really don't want to go more than 16. 16 is 2 on each middle patch, so you don't want more than that. Anything else would be wasted money. So then gate number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go all the way to 8 if you struggle to spend your minerals. But it's best to practice making only 7 because that's the way to do it. Now, whenever you can afford it, once again, you go for your Warp Prism. We're at 250, then you should chrono boost it. I don't have the energy quite yet, but I will be able to just now. You chrono boost your Warp Prism. Then you make 2 Adepts. And then finally you start making all the pylons at once. You can make 3 to 4 pylons, it's fine, because you're gonna be warping in a lot of units. So don't be shy. Just don't get supply blocked. A full round of 7 gateway units, so 7 adepts, requires 2 pylons at a time to replenish the supply. So whenever you warp in 7 units, you need at least 2 pylons after that to be able to do the next cycle. If you warp in 7 units and you forget to make pylons, then you try to warp again, and guess what? You're supply blocked. So every time you warp in 7 units, you make 2 more pylons. If you warp in just 4, then just 1 pylon should be enough. And the trick is, you want to keep this Warp Prism alive. See, I just warped in, just get the pylon instantly, and a second one. See, just 2 pylons instantly. Don't bother to make them anywhere, just pick whatever is closest location, probe, pylon, and then you go back to the fight. Make sure your Warp Prism is always escorted in a safe manner. You don't want to lose it stupidly, because if you lose the Prism, then you lose the game, usually. You can also use Hallucination ahead of you, just to see what's up. You know, if you're walking up a ramp like this, which I strongly discourage, you can use this path, which is much safer. Always send an Hallucination forward, so you can see what's coming for you. And then basically, you're gonna take the best fight you can. Use the Warp Prism to pick up your units if you get force field. This is a very good defense. I mean, this is a 5.6k player, you know, in GM, so not a bad player by any means. If you cannot win with the first wave, just warp in more units and go for it later. Say this guy is super well defended, and just go for it. You know, he's got, I don't know how many fucking batteries, like 3 batteries, force fields. You can just go on. If he's got stalkers and immortals, you'd be surprised. It's gonna do very well. Pick up your immortals if they get force fielded. These 2 units must survive. They absolutely must survive. These are the 2 most important units, right? Use your force field to trap the units. Shade on top if you want to. Practice the build and you will see how it works out. But basically, you do not want the immortals to die. The 3 units that must survive, the 2 immortals and the Warp Prism. The adepts are expendable. They are here to tank. The immortals are here to deal damage. You can shade 2 adepts like this, you know. If you're, you know, you want to try that out, you can shade 2 units in the main like I did over here. See, I would just... See, I'm just shading everything to threaten, but I only let 2 or 3 finish, and then I will just ravage the economy. In a way, if your attack fails or you actually fail to end the game, you could actually win the game because you ravage the entire economy of your opponent. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have questions, just ask me. You can always join my Discord in the description below and get some coaching, obviously, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.